G'day guys. In this week's training, I'm going to help you make sure that your business is profitable. So one of the biggest problems that I see for coaches, trainers and consultants who are trying to make a career out of this is that when they make more money, they spend more money. And you've probably heard of that equation, your income minus your expenses equals your profit. And whilst mathematically that is absolutely correct, it completely defies buying behavior. See, we're humans, right? And so when we see things in copious amounts or when we see a surplus of something, we're not naturally ingrained to hoard that. What we do is we consume and we spend it. So speaking from experiences, as the income has grown for Athletes Authority, we've just found better ways to spend it. And you'll probably find as a coach or consultant, you will do this too. Whether or not you're frugal with your money right now, there will come a point in time where if you don't put in a system to make sure that you're always being profitable, that you might fall into this trap too. So today's training is all about reframing how you think about income, revenue, profit, and expenses so that you can remain profitable and be smart and frugal with the money that you earn. Because ultimately, if you are not creating a financial plan for yourself and a strategy for financial freedom and financial success from this job and this career, what are you really doing it for? If you have to give this away, this career of coaching away, because you haven't earned enough money, because you haven't saved enough for whatever these reasons are, you're ultimately going to have to walk away from something you love. And that's not what I want. That's probably not what you want either. So now that we understand what the problem with income minus expenses equals profit is, it's mathematical, but it doesn't work psychologically. We need to have a different way of seeing this formula. Now, this formula comes from a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. So this is not my idea. I am just helping making this more accessible to you. I did the legwork and read the book and understood the systems, and now I'm distilling it as simply as I can for you. So how Mike Michalowicz explains this, and I might go the other side. The solution is to think of profit prior to thinking of income and expenses. So you know to a varying degree what your income will be each week, whether that's through a wage or whether that's through the amount of packs you're selling or the amount of sessions that you complete. You can kind of somewhat gather what your income is. Now, before we factor for expenses, your outgoings, I want you to think that your income minus the profit that you decide to take first out of your business equals your expenses, essentially what you have left to operate your life and your business on. So this is a really different way of thinking about it. Seems simple, it's the same formula, just with the expenses and profit on the other side of the equal equation. But this, once you implement this, will change how your business operates. And when we did this, it revolutionized how I perceived money in the bank accounts, revolutionized knowing that no matter what happened in my business, profit was always accounted for. So let's kind of go into a little bit more detail now. You've got money coming in, and this money will change. You may do more sessions one week, you may sell more packs, you may do less work, whatever that might be. No matter what comes in, I want you to have a central governing account where this money goes into. Now, be sure that this bank account doesn't do anything other than that purpose as a holding account for the income that comes in. So no mobile phone bills come out of there. Your rent doesn't come out of there. Nothing comes out of this account. It is purely a holding account. Okay, so what I want you to do now is just click the button below and download the Excel template that we've provided for you. This is a template that will get you started with the most important accounts that you'll need to open with your bank account, with your bank provider, and that should be a relatively easy process. So let's just start there quickly. If you turn up to your bank account and ask to see one of the consultants, just explain to them you're operating your own business and that you need a whole bunch of checking accounts. So you've got your income account, and no doubt you've already got a bank account, but you want a whole bunch of checking accounts for the different distributions of your income. First being profit, second being your wage, the third being your operating expenses, and the fourth, your tax. So once you've done that, and that's literally just a 30-minute chat with them, they should have no problems doing that. Depending on your bank provider, some may want to get you to open up savings accounts with fees. I wouldn't worry about that personally. Just getting a checking account with between 5 and 10 free transactions a month outside of your main operating expenses, which will need unlimited transactions a month. 5 to 10 transactions is fine because you're going to be doing this weekly or fortnightly whenever you get paid, and set that up. So now that you've done that, I'm going to assume you're going to go out after this video because you're so compelled to take action and you're going to go do that. I want you to download the spreadsheet. So that's below. That should be easy for you, and it's going to get you started. So let's run a hypothetical. I've left the cells empty in the spreadsheet. So let's run a hypothetical. Let's say you earn $1,000 a week. For some personal trainers and consultants, that's going to be more. For some, it's going to be less. So let's just use an arbitrary number of 1,000. So what you're going to do with your spreadsheet is, let's say on the Friday when you distribute all your money from your earnings that week, you do this on a Friday, you're going to open up your Excel spreadsheet and you're going to write down $1,000 into the income cell. So what you now know is that $1,000 is coming in. You need to first decide how much profit you want to take first before anything else. And my recommendation is to start with 5%. It's a low number, especially on $1,000 a week. It's only $50 a week, but at least gets you started. Even though it's only $2,500 a year, if you're not profiting right now, that's $2,500 of profit that you didn't have prior to doing this exercise. So start low because you don't want to have to revert. So let's say you decide on 5%. You're going to write 5% here, and in the cell that's next to it, you're going to make sure that it's equal to the income cell times 0.05. And in this case, you're going to get it popped out saying $50. And you shouldn't have to type in 50. Set these cells up once, and then it should do the rest for you. Now, you need to decide, well, how much do I want to live off per week? And it might be you need $600 to cover your rent and your food, and your rent and your food, your personal expenses. So $600 of $1,000 is 60%. So you're going to go equals income cell times by 0.6, and you're going to get $600. So currently at this stage, we've used 65% of our total income across our profit and to our wage. And now we're going to always allocate around 15% to tax. If you've been in tax trouble before, you've got to know it's pretty nasty, and you've probably heard some dire stories of trainers getting audited by the tax department and owing a lot of money. So don't have that headache. Allocate enough money to tax and you will always be covered. So our recommendation is between 10 and 15% to tax, especially if you're self-employed and you're responsible for your own tax withholdings. So let's say we've got 60% here, we've got 15% here. This cell will equal income times by 0.15, and in this case, that would be $150. And once again, that cell should just get spud out for you. And finally, you're left with operating expenses. Operating expenses is the rest of the equation. It's your marketing, it's your mobile phone bill, it's anything that is a part of you running your business. It's your rent to the gym if you're renting a space in a facility. So whatever your operating expenses are, maybe it's your fuel as well if you're a mobile personal trainer. You want to allocate the rest of the percentage to that. In this case, we've got 20% left by the looks of it. So 20%. And that, in this case, would be $200. So we've got $200 a week to manage your operating expenses. From here, well, what do you do? Well, once that $1,000 lands in your income account, you've opened up all your different accounts and you know how much you're distributing, you're simply going to transfer the distributed percentages, the allocated percentages to the different accounts, and you're going to make sure that you have money in each of those. Why is that so important? So when you open up your internet banking, you can see exactly what you can afford to spend. If you have $100 in your operating expenses account and you're trying to justify an equipment purchase of $300, well then, sorry, you don't have that money yet. And that will allow you to be frugal with how you spend your money. So, and what do you do past that? How do you improve things in your favor? Well, let's say you could make more money, for example, and the income might change from $1,000 to $1,500. And in that example, if you kept the percentages the same, everything would scale. But ideally what you'd like to do is try and keep operating expenses low, so maintain your frugality might be the word, or remain frugal with that to keep your operating expenses low, and therefore your profit will increase, therefore you'll also get paid more in your wages. So what we recommend is that every quarter, 90 days or thereabouts, you reevaluate your distribution of your income into the different accounts and you make sure that things are working. So how do you know that things are working? So once you distribute at the end of the week, you distribute your $1,000 in this example, you ignore your profit. Your profit you can't touch. The rule of thumb here is that your profit never gets fed back into the business. And I'll repeat that a few times over the course of this video just to hammer that home. You'll then have your money just distributed to your wage, and that's to pay your home rent, to pay your food, etc., to pay for your entertainment. You've got your operating expenses of $200, and that's to pay your rent at your facility or your fuel for mobile PT or your equipment for mobile PT, whatever that might be. And finally, you've got your tax. You don't touch that either. You never ever take money out of your tax account to reinvest back into your business anywhere, because that is a recipe for disaster. You can't borrow from Pete to pay Paul, I think is the example. So once you do that, every 90 days you can reevaluate. If you're earning more money, that's great. Maybe you want to reevaluate your target or your allocated percentages. So whilst these might be the percentages now, they won't necessarily have to be the percentages in future. You might want to say, actually, I want to take 15% profit and I want to reduce my weekly wage because I don't need it. So let's say we're now earning $2,000. I'm just going to change that to $2,000, and my apologies for this getting sloppy. Let's say you want to increase to 15% profit and only 50% wage. So, you know, you're earning more money now, you're earning double. Your living expenses haven't increased that much. You don't really need more than $600, so you can afford to reduce that to remain frugal, but you want to profit more so you can go on a holiday and do all those kind of things. Well, how would that change? Well, 15% on this week, let's say you earn $2,000, 15% would be $300. So that 50 becomes 300. And the wage of 60% on 1,000, which was 600, becomes 50% of 2,000, which is 1,000. So as you earn more money, these numbers will scale in accordance. And you want to maintain your 15% tax bracket always. And if hopefully you're now earning $2,000, but you're not really spending any more on operating expenses, but let's say you are, let's say you're paying a website now or something like that, well, then what you'd hope is that 20% of $2,000 is $400, and that covers your operating expenses or the increase in your operating expenses. So you can always be reevaluating, but never, I repeat, never ever take profit and put it back into the operations of your business. That is an absolute recipe for disaster. Why? Because you're in a business to create financial freedom, financial reliability. You're here to have a life. And if you can't take profit from your business and your operations and go on a holiday and enjoy some free time and all those kind of things, what are you really doing this for? So that is my question to you and something for you to consider. I hope you enjoyed this training. Download the template and start implementing this in your business. We get paid on a Thursday. All the money from the gym memberships and all that kind of stuff comes into our account on a Thursday. So I do this on a Thursday. I distribute it all according to our personal percentages. And I have my target percentages, which is what I'm working towards. And every quarter, I'm going to try and manipulate them in my favor. So whether that's me being more frugal with what I spend, whether that's me driving income up so I can get close to those percentages, whatever it might be, they'll be specific to you and individual to you. But my final point is you're in this for your own success, not just the success of others. Do not fall to the trap of earning more and spending more. It is a trap that has put many coaches before you into a lot of trouble, where they look at their bank accounts at the end of the year and their tax guy might say, great, you profited this year. And you're like, well, no, I didn't. I have no more money in my account than last year. And he's like, well, yeah, it's a tax profit because you've spent that money. And that's useless to you right now. You need to enjoy the fruits of your labor and your hard work. So you need to have a system that defies our psychology of spending and kind of transcends mathematical equations into a system that actually works. So whenever you open up your phone and open up your internet banking, you can see exactly what you can afford to spend at any one time. Remember, profit is never touched. That is for your personal extraction only. Never reinvest that back into your business. Secondly, tax. Never touch tax. If at the end of a quarter, if you're earning over 75 grand and you do your BAS statements and you find you can keep that tax after you do organize your PAYG, that's great. Put that in your profit account and start again. But never take money out of your tax account until your accountant and your bookkeeper says to do so. And finally, just remember that you need to create a system that's sustainable, that makes sense, and I hope that this makes sense for you too, as it made sense for me and really helped my business. All the best, and I hope you enjoyed this week's training. See ya.